Good morning, guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, John Daga, and with me behind the camera is, it's Johnny. Morning, Johnny.
Morning.
Getting ready for the holidays?
No.
No holidays for you. So, guys, today we're going to talk about the Mercedes Gullwing, the 198 chassis. The Gullwing is considered to be the centerpiece or the cornerstone of any great car collection. So we have one here. But the Gullwing is derived from a race car. The W194 race car that Mercedes was using after the war. Max Hoffman, the Mercedes importer, petitioned the folks at Mercedes-Benz to have a sports car for the American market. And this is what they presented. They presented this at the 1954 auto show. So the Mercedes-Benz Gullwing W198 just turned 70 years old. So if you have a Gullwing like this is a beautiful Concours level car. It has the Rudge wheels, it's got the fitted luggage. I mean, this is the one to have. So you want to do driving events. The 300SL Club, the SL Group, they always have driving events and stuff. So are you going to drive your Gullwing? Well, it was built to be a performance automobile. But here's the problem. So you got these really cool Gullwing doors. Now these Gullwing doors are a product of the tubular chassis, which is behind this. So to get in and out of this car, you literally have to sit on the sill plate and swing your legs in. And one other thing it has is the steering wheel folds so you can get your legs in there. So to be driving this car any kind of distance, to jump in and out of it at stops and stuff, it's a chore. So after 2 years of production, in 1957, Mercedes changed from the Gullwing platform to the 300SL Roadster. So if you want to do events, what do? You get yourself a Roadster. So that's what was done here. A 1957 300SL Roadster was procured out of Germany. A 1 or 2 owner car. I'm not sure of the exact history. We flew it out of Germany. We brought it here. It was used on one event. The car had one repaint on it, kind of original interior, so it was decided to freshen up the car. So we had Johnny pull the interior out, and you can see the seats are well worn. And then, we took it down to 800, and then this happens. How did this happen? We brought the car down here for a paint job, a little bit of body work, put a set of Rudge wheels on it, and now we're looking at a bare chassis. So we tried to do some gentle, light restoration because it was going to be an event car, not a Concours car specifically. So we did some dry ice blasting, and we tried to do some cleaning. And we got to the point where we realized that the car was never going to look really good. It was going to be a shiny paint job with a new interior, and the rest of the car was still going to look like it was 70 years old. So we opted to pull the body, strip it down. I did do a YouTube short with the chassis up on our rotisserie being painted, and we got some requests off that to show the restoration of this car. And I said, you know what, we're actually doing a real restoration at this point, so we'll go ahead and share it with you. So that's kind of why there's no intro to the car. I didn't introduce you to the car or take you for a road test. So this is the chassis of our 1957 300SL Mercedes-Benz Roadster. Show you some of the finer details on it. The engineering on these cars is spectacular. If you think about 1957 American cars, 57 Chevy came out, they were all excited about their V8 engine and whatnot. This car, 4-wheel independent suspension, 3-liter overhead cam, direct fuel injected, 4-speed transmission, big drum brakes. This was a race car. But unlike the Gullwing I showed you earlier, this car has conventional doors. So the doors open like regular doors. The rocker sills are much lower, so you don't have to sit on them and get in and out of the car. And the roof retracts, so a big person can comfortably get in and out of the car. It does not have the flip down steering wheel like the Gullwing. So in addition to the things I touched on, you can see through the restoration process, we have had everything off of this frame. It has now been refinished in the correct gloss black. The springs, the swing axle, we have the brake hydraulics out for rebuilding right now. All new brake lines. We've inspected and put the wiring back in. We got the front end all back together now, and the ability to adjust this front end for alignment is spectacular. Slide up here for a second, Johnny. So even though this is a kingpin type suspension, this is an eccentric bolt to adjust camber. There are threaded bushing inserts in these upper control arms that you can screw in and out to move the control arm forward and rearward to get a caster adjustment. This strut rod here is adjustable with shims, and you can actually change the wheelbase and the thrust angle of the car via these shims. This nut that holds this part of the suspension on, that thing is torqued to almost 300 foot-pounds. Yeah, we had to buy a 3-to-1 torque multiplier just so our 100 foot-pound torque wrench could get it up to spec. I mean, you can see, the other thing is the idler arm has the same bushing arrangement so that you can make sure that your idler arm and pitman arm are in the same plane so that they don't fight each other. And so it's just an incredible bit of engineering. And realize that these guys were sitting around in a room with drafting tables and slide rules, 40 guys instead of, a couple guys with a computer. The other thing is this thing, it's all flame welded together. These are not electric welds. These are not from a TIG welder or MIG welder or anything. This is somebody with a jig and a torch welding these bits together. So we are going to do a rudge wheel upgrade on this car. We'll have the center lock wheel on it. Now we opted to do a adapter setup instead of an axle and hub setup because it's about a $70,000 price difference. They're proud of that stuff. There are some aftermarket companies that do it, but like on the Gullwing, it's all factory original stuff. So here's our chassis going back together. We have our 3-liter engine over here in the corner. Now, since Rear Classics primarily does post-war Italian sports cars, we work on cars they made one of. So we always have some, I don't want to say leeway, but a little license here and there for finishes and whatnot. These cars, they made 1,858 Roadsters. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot of experts, and there's a lot of documentation on these cars. So we have to get the finishes right. So I'm working with the preeminent mark specialist on this, and they're advising me. They've given me a list of the proper sheens. This block is supposed to be painted black along with this side cover. We're going to get all these fuel injection lines replated in the correct yellow zinc, et cetera, et cetera. This motor will go back in the chassis before the body goes back on the car. And you can see, throughout the process, everything is, bagged and tagged. Each individual component is restored prior to going back on the car. So we're not putting any dirty parts back on the car. We're not putting anything that isn't, fully functional in like close to new condition as possible. And then here's another great thing about these cars that we normally don't enjoy, and that's books. All the vintage Ferraris, there's very few books, very little documentation. There's no parts. And the crazy thing is this is a reprint of the 300SL Roadster parts book from 1957. And these part numbers in this book are still available from Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz has a Classic Center in Stuttgart, Germany, and in Irvine, California. And majority of the parts for this car are still available directly from Mercedes.
Wow.
So having the ability to see a parts breakdown, to see an exploded view, to be able to look at a part and go, what's the part number for that? Can I order it, have it shipped here? Can I put it on the car? It's, you know, normally we're going, Eugene, can you make this? Eugene, you know, can you cast this? So this, you know, I'm very guilty of this because I used to call these cars paint by numbers. I did a lot of 280s and 190s back 12 years ago or so. And it was the same deal, you know, very plentiful parts, lots of service information. And then when I got into the coach-built post-war Italians, there was no information, and we had to learn. And we always, you know, joke, you know, what would Luigi do? So, you know, this is really nice. I do apologize to everybody who specializes in these cars for saying they were paint by numbers, because they really aren't. I mean, this is an unbelievably engineered piece of art that I don't know how they produced 1,850 of them identical. I mean, it's incredible considering it's 1957. You're post-war Germany in a divided country. So the Allies are in West Germany. This Mercedes is made in West Germany. I mean, that folks buckled down and got this kind of stuff done. It's incredible. So we're going to take you next door where they're working on the body, and we're going to take a quick walk around that. All right, guys, so here is the body from our 300SL Roadster. We built a cart for it to support the body in all the factory mounting points so that you know, it doesn't twist or get out of shape. We will not be doing the final body work or gapping on this car until it's back on its chassis. We are doing the stripping via mostly mechanical stripping. This here represents about a day and a half of work at 2 guys, you know, with air tools and stripper wheels and whatnot. And the car is really in amazing condition. There's no, I mean, there's a little bit of rust here and there, but nothing that you would call rust or cancer. It appears that there's only one small area on the car that ever suffered any damage during its 70-year life. And that was right here on the front. You can see this dark gray area here. This is lead filler. So they would have probably done this in the early 60s in Europe because, you know, they weren't using plastics and stuff then. So this is the only area of damage we found on the car. We did have to pull what they call the eyebrows off the side here. They're bolted and then they're lead soldered on because there was some corrosion up underneath. So we wanted to get that cleaned out. These areas inside the gills here, can't really get in there to sand that off. So we'll be using some chemical strippers in there to get that off, as well as this area behind the door hinges. And what's really cool is the dashboard and the hinge plate. You know, some people, like the Corvette people, that call this the bird cage. I don't know what the Mercedes guys call it. But if you look, these steel panels here, they're essentially nailed to the aluminum. This steel here is nailed through the aluminum of the dash and to the A-pillar here. So there's, you know, thank God we don't have to take that apart.
Yeah.
So, like I said, much larger door opening, much easier ingress and egress from the car. You do have a little, this is the area that the top folds down in, and there's a hard tonneau cover. And then you have a trunk, which the Gullwing doesn't have a trunk. This car also has fitted luggage that goes back here in addition to the spare tire and the tool kits. So hopefully, we're coming up on Friday. Don't look to let cars sit unprotected. The bare metal on this car has been treated with a product called OSPHO, which stands for phosphoric acid, which here's the bottle here. And what it does is it creates a layer of oxide on the car and prevents any corrosion or rust from forming. It's also a little sticky. So prior to the primer being installed on this, the car will be completely hand sanded, most likely with 80 grit, and then it will get our PPG Vibrance High Build Primer, which is an epoxy 2-part primer, which will seal the car, and then we'll put our bodywork on top of that. So body, chassis, Johnny's got the interior up at Park Commerce, and we should have this rolling here in, I'm going to say, the next 3 months. We'll see. We got a lot of projects coming up with Cavallino and the Amelia Island Concours and whatnot. But great project, and looking forward to finishing it. So guys, thanks for watching. This morning we're at 945 subscribers. I'd love to get to 1,000 by the end of the weekend. Sunday's my birthday, so it'd be a great birthday present for John. So make sure, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Tell your friends, get your wife, your mother, whoever to subscribe. And you know, if you liked it, you give us a like. If you didn't, well, you know, thanks for watching. And we're going to see you on the next one.